Okay, good morning to my beautiful colleagues in Cambodia. Good morning, Teacher Love, and good morning, Teacher Jean.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Thank you so much for granting me the opportunity to interview you today. And I hope this will help other aspiring teachers or pre-service teachers to help them achieve their theoretical and principal studies in relation to education. So first and foremost, I'd like to start off the interview by asking you some personal information. So can you guys tell me your name, your age, the school where you are teaching or you're handling, and the subjects that you handled, and your years in teaching? Can I start with Teacher Love?
Oh, sure. My name's Lovee Johannes. Everybody calls me Teacher Love. I'm 41 years old, and I work at Liberty International School. Um, right now, I'm not teaching anymore. I'm in the admin, and I've been in the education sector since 2009.
Okay, now can I ask some personal information from Teacher Jean too?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm teacher Jean. I'm Jean from the mountain province of the Philippines, and I'm 38. And of course, I teach at CIA First International School here in Cambodia, and I handle grade 4 students teaching the English language, science, mathematics, and social studies. And for my years in teaching, I've been teaching for more or less 12 years now.
Wow,
So
that's amazing. Okay, so follow-up question. So most of your time teaching, is it just here in Cambodia or have you taught in other countries?
I have taught here in Cambodia most of my years of teaching, 7 years, and the other years in the Philippines.
What
Yeah, for
about
me,
Teacher Love?
it's all in Cambodia. I've had teaching tutorials in the Philippines. Yeah.
Okay, so let me now jump to my first question for all of you. Let's go to a much bigger question right now. So for you, what is an ideal teacher? Can I start off with Teacher Jean?
Sure, okay. What is an ideal teacher? For me, I think with my years of teaching and experience, I came to realize that my ideal teacher is a realistic teacher. I mean, a realistic teacher is one who knows how to simplify the lessons and able to communicate effectively to the student and not making things complicated. So, realistic meaning you know how to practice or you put those theories, philosophies into practice.
Okay,
That's
what
for
about
me.
Teacher Love?
Yeah, well, for me, coming from the administration side, I think an ideal teacher is someone who's teachable. Attitude for me is very, very important. Someone who is also knowledgeable, of course, and then with technical skills, not afraid of technology because our generation now is very technologically advanced. Someone who is happy because a teacher is not happy is not effective.
Mhm.
And then I think also I look back, and then like when I interview people, I look at how they were as a student. If they were not diligent and dedicated and good students back then, I don't think they can ever be good teachers. And then someone who also continues to educate and improve himself or herself in terms of profession and personal stuff.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, for my second question, what is your teaching philosophy? Teacher Love?
Huh. So I've always been a believer and an advocate of personal freedom. So my teaching philosophy and strategies are always geared towards teaching the students how to be responsible and to and aim towards realizing their potential, their skills, their intelligence, their smarts, and then finding out how are they going to use these skills, smarts, and intelligence and all that stuff into developing themselves, bettering themselves and their immediate family and friends around them and society as a whole.
Yes, thank you for that. Now, what about Teacher Jean?
For me, for my teaching philosophy is to be practical. I am on that side. Of course, with all your knowledge, skills, and competence, it pays off to be practical because there's a lot of teachers who are very much knowledgeable. They know everything, like by the book, by with their studies or educational background, but then they cannot put it into practice in a real classroom. So
Mm-mm.
for me, it's my teaching philosophy, be practical and be simple and realistic so that you will be able to communicate with your students, most especially in our setting that our students are ESLs. So that's for my philosophy.
Okay, so my third question for the both of you is, what do you feel are the biggest challenges facing today's education system? I'll go back to Teacher Loud for this one.
Oh, me again. Okay. So I think I think the greatest challenge now is adjusting to the distance learning because of the pandemic. Um, I've like I have a son at home and I see that they're learning trigonometry, for example. And I back then I've had really good teachers, but I was already still struggling. And I'm looking at my son, I'm like, oh my God, this is difficult. And the same here with our students. It's really not ideal, especially if the parents are not very involved.
Okay. Now, can I jump to my next question on that so you can follow up? Like,
Uh,
what are your suggestions in order to solve these problems?
of course, it's getting over our fear of the pandemic. I think we really have to just go back to face-to-face learning because we're wasting decades in terms of education and knowledge.
Yep. Okay. What about for Teacher Jean? What do you think are the biggest challenges facing today's education system, and what are your suggestions to solve these problems?
Okay, for me, with all the problems that the world is facing right now, one of the big challenge for the education system right now is having a lot of standards and many times unattainable within the time frame given. So I am talking most especially here in Southeast Asia, wherein we want to be globally competitive, and we try to follow curriculum packed with a lot of standards to reach. And with all these problems affecting us, and with the kind of students we have and the parent support, we're not able to attain them. So for the suggestion to solve this, sorry, I'll go ahead and say it, is that we have to try to look into these standards and let's not complicate things. We should be really clear with our goals so that we know which are the lesson activities that we'll implement and which ones do we need to prioritize so that we will make really teaching and learning be more effective.
Thank you. Now, before I proceed with my last question, I have a follow-up question to Teacher Love.
Uh-huh.
Regards to, I know that you are an administrator of a school. How do you think you can relay this kind of suggestions to others, administrators here in the Kingdom of Cambodia?
So my suggestion as to face-to-face learning.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, it's in Cambodia. I know you guys know that there's really no network per se. There's no such thing as an organized teachers organization other than our Teachers Learning Action Guild,
Yes.
right? So So I think the only way is to talk about it, like we do a lot of times when we get together. We talk about it. What do we see are the problems, and then I guess that's the simplest way we can, maybe when teacher Jean goes back to her school, she can give suggestions and and voice out that these things are really happening, and this is the impact of long term no face to face learning for it's to the children. So yeah, I think that's the simplest way, because in Cambodia there's really no networking with other schools.
Yes, thank you so much for that. What about for teacher Jean? I know you have a very strong communication and collaboration in your school. How do you think you can relay the suggestions to other teachers in other schools? Now we talk about administrators with teacher Jean. What about with teacher Love? What about teachers, co-teachers in other schools?
Well, for us as members of the TLAG, right, we have our network already. So meeting with friends from different schools, we sometimes compare, right? We sometimes compare as teachers, we sometimes compare what's happening in my school, in their school, and then we share the things that we're doing. They share what they're doing, and then that's the time that, oh, I learn from you, you learn from me, and then, oh, I would suggest that to my administrator, I would suggest that to my coordinator, something like that. And then when you go back to your school, when we go back to our own schools and during meetings, we bring up those ideas, and that would, I think, how we will network and how to suggest some changes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I guess the key word here is collaboration and communication, right?
Yes.
Yes, and opening our doors to suggestions from
Mhm.
other teachers. Okay, I think I've come to my last part or last question here. What message can you give to those who aspire to be a teacher in the future? I think I'll go first with teacher Jin.
Okay, wow. All right. So, though teaching is a noble profession, okay, for those who are aspiring to be teachers, my advice for you is to be smart. Smart meaning not only knowing the methods of teaching, not only knowing the strategies, not only memorizing the theories and putting all that you read in your mind. Being smart means you're flexible, because not everything you learn in college is the real scenario. What's where you will learn much is when you're already in the real setting, you're teaching kids, and your first year of teaching is not really what it is, because you're going to adopt and you want to insist on what you have learned in school, the theories and principles you learn in school, which are sometimes not really applicable. So you have to be smart, check which are the things that you can apply, check the things that you should not do or you should not insist that this is what it is because this is what I learned. Sometimes there are a lot of factors that affect teaching. It starts first with the kids that you are handling. There's a lot of student differences that will affect your teaching, and sometimes some principles doesn't apply. So be smart, use all what you learned, but don't be rigid, be flexible, be teachable, and be willing to learn. That's what I advise the new teachers, because sometimes they get overwhelmed with the tasks and with the real scenario in their classroom, and many times, and there are a lot who give up being teachers. They'd rather go for other um, occupations like call centers and other office work, because they cannot really deal with the real classroom setting. So that's it. Be smart, new teachers.
Thank you. Well, that really reminded me of my beginning 10 years ago. Like while you were answering the question, I was trying to remember what happened to me when I first started teaching, and it's really a reflection of your answer. Okay, for Teacher Love, what message can you give to those who aspire to be a teacher in the future?
Okay, so I'm going to how do you say that? Attack what? I'm going to approach this question from a personal perspective, not personally, but by the person, but like the teacher itself, individual teacher. So we have to the aspiring teachers, please know that being a teacher is not a get rich profession. And it is not a fabulous profession. So expect hardships, expect poverty, expect a lot of work. Before you even keep going, you have to think about these things. You have to have a heart for public service, because teaching is really public service. It's not, yeah, you get paid, but it's not really, it will never be enough. So I want to like put that on the table, because a lot of teachers kind of which is I understand naman, because of course you invested on yourself, and then of course you want a return of investment. But then, as what teacher Jean have said, you have to be realistic. We are teachers, we're not Wall Street, finance, we don't get rich. we're just here. So that's one. And then I also agree with teacher Jean saying that you have to be teachable. Um, in to be honest, I'm not a teacher by profession. I graduated civil engineering. So I never thought I'd be a teacher. So I had to learn a lot. I had to listen a lot. I had to work a lot and keep learning in the classroom, in the field with other teachers, ongoing education, because it is your responsibility as a teacher. It's your responsibility to your students to be prepared and to be equipped and to be knowledgeable, because what you give your students, your students think you're infallible. Your students think you're always right. They will not even listen to their moms and dads or anyone else. It's you that they look up to you. So you have to be worthy of that whatever admiration or all these things from your students. And then also invest in professional development and personal development, because this is very important. And the last one is be an example. If you're telling your students you have to submit your homework on time, well, teacher, you also have to submit your requirements to your superiors on time, because whatever, even though the students don't see that, the spirit is there, the energy is there. So when you say submit your homework, study hard, and you're not studying hard, so that's not gonna work. So I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna share that answer to my classmates in school, so that would really inspire them to become better teachers. Pre-service, needs a lot of assistance from those who are equipped and have experience already in teaching. And with that, this interview will really help those aspiring teachers. Again, so that comes to the end of my interview to the two of you. Thank you very much for this support you have given me. I think I owe you some snacks, coffee or tea. So
Right, right.
see you around the corner. Thank you very much, Teacher Jean and Teacher Love.
You're
You're
welcome, Jay. Anytime.
welcome.
Okay, have a nice long weekend.
You
You too.
too. See ya.
Okay.